Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. This is Brother Yawar Allah. This is my channel, Rise of Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give a call to love, which means to give all praises unto Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashem, which means in the name of the Son. Yahweh Shah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And today I just want to get into some current events and what's going on in the world. This shouldn't be too long. Lord willing, this is edifying. So, first thing I would like to go over is exclusive top U.S. general tells CNN global international security order is at stake following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So he's talking about that the international security order is now at stake because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And let's see exactly what it means by that. Many of you that are following what's going on in Russia, just because, it died down for the past couple of months, people think that it might be over. This is really just the beginning of everything that's going to happen, everything that's happening. And this is found throughout all over the scriptures. So we can just go to Matthew chapter 24 and okay, here we go. This is Matthew 24 and 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So we're right at the beginning of the end. We're not here yet. We're not at the end yet, but we're very close to it. Let's keep reading. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So there's going to be famines and pestilences and earthquakes all over the earth. And it's been famines. It's a worldwide famine going on right now. It's a nationwide food shortage happening right now in America. All right, so verse 8 says, all these things are the beginnings of sorrows. Meaning, so everything isn't necessarily, we're not at the end yet, but we're at the beginning of sorrows. Meaning things is going to happen very quickly. Right? So let's keep going. Let's see what he has to say.
Amazon has a fantastic parental leave. 20 weeks off, fully paid.
Salakia. All right, Khan. Salakia. Give me a moment. See that? Just try this again. All right.
Be ready for any arena in the all-new LX600.
Short of a nuclear risk, you testified before Congress a short time ago that the potential for significant international conflict is increasing, not decreasing. I'm quoting you. Since then, Russia has issued a diplomatic protest to the U.S. and NATO to stop its weapons shipments. Has that increase in military support, in your view, increased the danger of direct conflict between the U.S. and Russia?
Yeah, so pretty much what this Edomite is saying is, he's saying that has the fact that Russia has told NATO and EU to stop aiding Ukraine in weapons, and NATO not listening, is this going to put us in greater danger? Because Russia, you're going to see later on in this video that Russia is said to have to have to defend themselves if other nations keep defending Ukraine. So we're going to see what happens.
Increase in military support, in your view, increase the danger of direct conflict between the U.S. and Russia?
I actually think it's the opposite. I think that What's at stake here is much greater than Ukraine. What's at stake is the security of Europe. This is the greatest challenge to the security of Europe since the end of World War II. And indeed, you could easily make the case that what's at stake is the global international security order that was put in place in 1945. That international order has lasted 78 years. It's prevented great power war. And underlining that entire concept is the idea that large nations will not conduct military aggression against smaller nations. And that is exactly what's happened here, an unprovoked military aggression by Russia against a smaller nation. So if this is left to stand, if there is no answer to this aggression, if Russia gets away with this cost-free, then so goes the so-called international order. And if that happens, then we're ending into an era of seriously increased instability. So right now, now is the time, and right now is the opportunity here to stop aggression and to restore peace and security to the European continent.
Yeah, so pretty much what he's saying is that pretty much what this Edomite is saying is that they'd rather stop Russia now than have to deal with them further down the line. And they've been trying to stop Russia for years. That's the reason why NATO even started. So it's really been a big fear of Russia from America. And that's gonna start brewing up a lot of trouble because Russia isn't gonna go out without a fight. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next one. All right, Taiwan says to keep Ukraine lessons in mind during annual war game. Now, if you don't know, Ukraine and Taiwan are pretty much in the same situation. Ukraine has been fearing for their lives for the past couple years about the Russian invasion. And the same thing is with Taiwan. Taiwan fears being invaded by China. And it was either China is going to invade Taiwan first or Russia is going to invade Ukraine first. So I guess, they must have flipped the coin because Russia wound up invading Ukraine first. And Taiwan says to learn from these lessons and keep everything in mind for what's been coming to pass. We can just look into it. Taiwan's military on Wednesday said it was learning lessons from Russia's war against Ukraine, and as it unveiled plans for an annual military exercise that simulates defending the island from Chinese attacks. Because they're getting prepared because they know it's going to happen one way or another. They know it's going to happen either today or tomorrow. And when I say today or tomorrow, I'm being parabolic, just now or whenever. Right? Let's keep reading. The island's 23 million people live under constant threat of an invasion by China, which views the self-ruled democratic island as part of its territory to be retaken one day by force if necessary. And this is really key to understand. See, Ukraine isn't the same as Taiwan. Ukraine is the second biggest country in Africa. I said Africa, Europe. So is the second biggest country in Africa. Europe. Ukraine size is 233,000 square feet. Oh wait, no, let me see. Okay, around 600,000 kilometers per square feet. So it's big. You know what I'm saying? It's a big country. Now, Russia is slightly bigger. Let's keep going. Now let's look up Taiwan. And Taiwan's, a lot smaller. It's an island, it's a little island. If you look right here to the right side of the screen, Taiwan is very little into small island. It will not be able to defend itself on arguably the second strongest, or arguably the strongest military power on the face of the earth. So let's go back. Slovakia. Okay, so let's keep reading. Russia's brutal but stumbling invasion of Ukraine has heightened fears Beijing might similarly one day follow through on threats to annex its smaller neighbor. As the military announced a July date for its Han Kuang Han Glory war games, commanders made clear the conflict in Ukraine would factor into the exercise. So yeah, they'll be thinking about what could possibly happen with them being invaded. Let's keep going. Chinese Navy ship enters Japan waters near Kagoshima Pref Islands. Let's keep reading. Let's see what this is talking about. Tokyo, a Chinese Navy vessel has been spotted in Japan's territorial waters near islands of the southwestern prefecture of Kagoshima. The Defense Ministry said Wednesday. A survey ship entered Japanese waters from West Rabu Island at around 11 p.m. Tuesday and sailed out of the territorial waters south of Yakushima Island at around 2:10 a.m. Wednesday, the ministry said. It is the first such intrusion by a Chinese Navy vessel that the Defense Ministry has confirmed and announced since last November. The Japanese government lodged a protest with China through diplomatic channels. So, I mean, China, right now, they feel like they can do whatever they want. They're not worried about any other nation or, anybody telling them what to do. Let me see. Let's go next. Let's go to the next one. So keep your eye on what's going on with China. Just to keep everybody so focused on Russia and Ukraine and all these different things. But, China is just as dangerous, if not more. Now, we all know, according to the scriptures, that Russia is going to be the last standing kingdom on the earth. But still, you want to keep everything in consideration with how this thing might really get popped off. So let's keep going. Ukraine latest updates. Putin agrees to UN role in evacuations. Let's see what that's talking about. Ukraine news from April 26th. UN says Putin agrees in principle for UN to help with evacuations from Mariupol. Because, if people in the media, you guys got to watch the media, because the media lies a lot. They'll say that Putin is the next Adolf Hitler. He's trying to kill off everybody, want them all to die. And if anybody's really been watching, he's given these people opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to leave Ukraine. But many of these people decided not. They decided to stay back and fight. So what that makes the people that die? Soldiers. If you stay back and fight, you are now a soldier. And Putin has given the green light to go and leave on multiple occasions. So let's keep reading. All right, this right here in this photo is Russian President Vladimir Putin attends a meeting with the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres in Moscow, Russia, on April 26, 2022. Let's keep reading. The United Nations says Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed in principle to UN involvement in evacuating civilians from Azovstal steel plant in Ukraine's Mariupol. Russia's Gazprom will halt gas supplies to Poland via the Yamal pipeline from Wednesday, Poland's PGNiG gas firm says. The United States Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for a ceasefire agreement as soon as possible during talks with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. Russia warns the conflict in Ukraine can escalate into World War III, says Western weapons sent to its neighbor will be a legitimate target. So the ones that are aiding Ukraine will be a legitimate target. They're going to be the ones that get this thing popped off if they don't, slow their roll when it comes to dealing with Russia. All right? Let's go to the next one. And here you'll hear him speak. All right, let's go. I've already talked about this at the very... Okay, I've already talked about this at the very... If someone, I will point this out again, if someone intends to interfere from the aside with the events happening, then they, yes, and they will create for Russia unacceptable threats, then they must know that our response to counterstrikes will be immediate. I mean, you hear it there. Let's see what he's talking about. Hold up, Slovakia. Alright, let's just read it up here. During his speech in St. Petersburg, Putin claimed that the Russian army is ready to knock a lightning strike to Western countries that would intervene in the war. NATO help Ukraine with heavy weapons now to avoid war with Russia in the future. So, he's pretty much saying, look, if anybody intervenes, I mean, it's gonna make it automatic. He's going to kill whoever he has to kill, take out any country. World War III will be damn near started and ended at the same time. That's his mentality, at least. Let's keep going. Slovakia, this is it's folly. Here we go. Russia warns nuclear war risks now considerable. This is the Straits Times. Let's see. Let's talk about Lviv, Kiev, and some Reuters. Russia's foreign minister told the world not to underestimate the considerable risk of nuclear conflict. A NATO supply of weapons to Ukraine, in essence, meant that the Western alliance was engaged in a proxy war with Russia. Interviewed by Russian state television, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was asked about the importance of avoiding World War III and whether the current situation was comparable to the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. This is what he says. The risks are now considerable. Mr. Lavrov said, according to a transcript of the interview on the ministry's website. I would not want to elevate those risks artificially. Many would like that. The danger is serious, real, whatever it is, and we must not underestimate it. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, said he regarded Russia's sacramongering as a sign of weakness. Russia had lost its last hope to scare the world off supporting Ukraine. Mr. Kuleba wrote on Twitter after Mr. Lavrov's interview, this only means Moscow senses defeat. So pretty much, his whole point was to scare everybody off because he sees defeat in the Ukrainian army, or in Ukraine, period. During a visit to Kiev on Sunday, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin promised more military aid for Ukraine. The United States Department on Monday, April 25th, used an emergency declaration to approve the potential scale of U.S. $165 million worth of ammunition to Ukraine. The Pentagon said the package could include artillery ammunition for howitzers, tanks, and grenade launchers. Moscow's ambassador to Washington told the United States to halt shipments, warning Western weapons were inflaming the conflict. Mr. Lavrov said, NATO, in essence, is engaging in a war with Russia through proxy and is arming the proxy war, and is arming that proxy. War means war. That's pretty much what Russia's saying. So Russia isn't on this whole thing where they're just like, oh, nah, since you're technically not fighting us, but in a way you are. No, they're like, look, if you're helping the person that I'm fighting against, then I'm fighting against you too. If you're in a fight with somebody and their buddy pulls out a knife to stab you with it, and you wind up getting cut, then I mean, that person needs to fight you too, because they just aided a person to fighting you and to possibly killing you and defeating you. So I mean, obviously Russia deals with some type of logic. Let's keep reading. Russia's 2-month-old invasion of Ukraine, the biggest attack on a European state since 1945, has left thousands dead or injured, reduced towns and cities to rubble, and enforced over 5 million people to flee abroad. Moscow calls its actions a special operation to disarm Ukraine and protect it from fascists. And let's see what a fascist is. Word fascist, an advocate or follower of the political philosophy or system of fascism. Fascist, let's see, authoritarian, totalitarian, Nazi. So, yeah, exactly, to protect Ukraine from Nazis. And that's very simple, plain and simple. Ukraine and the West says this Ukraine and the West says this a false pretext for an unprovoked war of aggression by President Vladimir Putin. The United States is due to host an unexpected gathering of more than 40 countries this week for Ukraine-related defense talks that will focus on arming Kiev, U.S. officials said. So America said they don't really care too much about what Russia's talking about. They're gonna aid Ukraine. They don't care. And this is going to be a big thing to watch. You want to keep an eye on what's going to happen with Slovakia. I forgot to play on what's going to happen with Ukraine and Russia, because this is starting up. This starting up a lot of wars brewing up to get even worse, right? Let's keep going. Now let's see what this Edomite has to say.
Why do people love LSAT Max?
Yeah, you gotta do with these commercials.
Anywhere, anytime.
Personalized analytics that tell you your strengths and weaknesses.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of attempting to destroy Russia and claims it was preparing to murder a prominent Russian TV journalist. He's demanded prosecutors take a tough line with the West as he detailed so-called plots by foreign spies to discredit his country and armed forces. Putin accused the West of inciting Ukraine to plan attacks on Russian journalists, which Kiev denies. He said the Federal Security Service had prevented a murder attempt by what he calls a terrorist group on a Russian TV journalist. He didn't provide evidence to support the statement, and news outlets have been unable to verify the accusations.
So, I mean, you know, again, if you didn't hear it, Russia claims that the West, meaning NATO, EU, America, they're trying to destroy Slovakia, while Singapore is still in office. Let me get back to the last one. See that? All right, Slovakia. So now we can just move on to the next one. But again, you know, Putin does believe that, you know, the West is trying to, you know, do things to hurt Russia, which they are. They are definitely trying to. And this is going to be a big issue. Because, I mean, everybody believes that NATO are the good guys and they're doing everything right. And Russia's just the big evil devil, which they are. That's just trying to take over the whole world. When really, they're doing wickedness on both sides. All right, let's read. Let's keep reading. Here's the next one. In search of a new world order, Russia and China team up to push Ukraine propaganda. All right, let's read. All right. The war in Ukraine is not only about the future of Ukraine. Both Russia and U.S. leaders are making it increasingly clear that the brutal fight for territorial control aside the former Soviet republic is but part of a larger superior struggle that would determine a new balance of power in the world. So the average person is looking to, how do I say this? Is looking at this war as just a war on Ukraine. That's about it. It's not going to be much else. That's what the average person looks at it like. Oh, it's just a war on Ukraine, you know, Russia's being a bully and America's going to stop a bully from bullying. No, this is much bigger than Ukraine at all. It really has nothing to do with Ukraine. It has to do with this power struggle. Now, if you've been watching, you know, this thing with Ukraine and Russia for a bit, you know, past couple years, it has a lot more to do with the power of America and them coming out of power. And it was an article on it a couple years, maybe like a year or so back, where Russia and China came together and said that the old days for America are gone, are over with. What do you think they mean by that? The good old days in America are over with. meaning America bullying and oppressing people. And this is all found in the scriptures. Now, of course, I gotta always go back to the scriptures, but even though this is a current event topic, it's Isaiah chapter 14. Salakia. So let's go to verse 9. Let me see. I'll start at verse 4 and I'm going to jump back up. That thou shalt take this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? So the scripture likens the king of Babylon as the oppressor in the golden city. And that's Babylon the Great. We already know what that is. But it's called the oppressor. Why is it oppressor? Because it's oppressed the children of Israel and he oppresses every other nation. We can just keep reading it down. The Lord have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So I mean, this is very simple with what they've done. Let's keep reading. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. So Babylon the Great, man, they've persecuted the nations in anger. They've put every nation to flight. That's why they call the virgin daughter of Babylon, because they've been untouched. They've never lost in war, and every other nation was in fear of this nation at one point in time. And what's going to happen when they fall? Let's keep reading. The whole world is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. So I mean, so this is what it looks like when America's out of power. Hasn't been out of power in forever, right? So let's keep going. We could really just go back up here. I mean, we can start at verse 11, right? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Meaning, because of what's going to happen to you, this thermonuclear destruction, you're going to fall, and it's going to be a place of all different types of fowl and birds and insects and worms. Meaning, the dirt and the grave is going to be all around you. It's going to be a dead place, a wasteland. Right? Let's keep reading. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken nations? So how are you cut down to the ground, the one that weakened nations? This is what America's going to look like. And let me just, Lord willing, this could be helpful. What is that movie called? Godzilla. Let me see. I don't know if I want to use nuclear bomb scene. Nah, that's not it. Salaki. I'm just gonna look up, because this is a perfect. Is it It was one of the Godzillas in, I think, roughly 1994. I think this might have been it. Not 1994, 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Nah, I could be wrong then. Let me see, it's not that one. It's none of these old movies. Well, Salaki Israel, I mean, it... Oh, hold up. See, Salaki. All right, here we go. This is it. Lord willing, this is it. this is what America's gonna look like, and when these other nations are finished with it. Let's just keep going. We could just watch this whole thing.
Go spook them. Dad, come on, let's go. It's only another block. Dad, are we going home or what? Oh, hey, what are you doing? Dad?
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of get the point. You kind of get the point. But kind. So I mean, like I said, this is exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a wasteland, right? So where was I at? The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. And if you go back down to go to Isaiah 13, it'll say the same thing, right? And here it goes. The Lord will destroy Babylon, right? This is Isaiah 13 and 19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch their tent there, neither shall the shepherd make their fold there. So there's never going to be a human being in this land again. So I mean, that's why where I cut it off the video, it became a little foolish. You know, there's not going to be anybody taking off their mask in that land. Nor there be anybody in that land. And a good example of this would be like Chernobyl, places like that, or just regular Sodom and Gomorrah. If you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, it's uninhabited, and then there's nothing growing, no fruit growing. There's nobody living there. It's a deserted wasteland. So it's not going to be a human being, but will be there. Will be wild beasts, as the scripture says. But wild beasts of the deserts shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses. And the dragons, which really, it doesn't mean actual dragon like serpents, things like that, in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. I mean, her days, her time is coming. Her days are numbered. And that's exactly what it's talking about. Now, just for anybody that may be new to the channel, and may not know exactly what's going on, this is exactly what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. We can go to Jeremiah 50, and we can go to verse 9. Right? Well, verse 8. Let's start there. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldees, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. So you can't be a part of this place. Now, we don't doesn't mean literally, meaning get up and fly to Africa, but it's talking about meaning get out of this way spiritually, and mentally, and philosophically, and religiously. Get out of this place, right? You can't be in this place overindulging in the ways of America, thinking that you're going to make it out of this place. You can't do that. So the Lord commanded us. He commanded us many other times to do so. Let's keep reading. For lo, this is the reason why you should. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations. So it's going to be a great assembly of nations, a large group of other countries from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. I mean, they're going to set themselves against her. I mean, they're going to face their face against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows. So it says their arrows shall be like a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Now, what's going to destroy a country? What's going to make a country uninhabitable or overthrown like Sodom and Gomorrah? An actual arrow, or are we talking about the modern day arrow, which would be the nuclear missile, or rockets, things that be shot from one part of Earth even to the other? And I probably can't grab it in this one. Let me grab it in Second Ezra's, Lord willing, this works. And 16 and 13. I'll start at verse 12. This is 2 Ezra 16 and 12. The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea arises up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also, before the Lord, and before the glory of his power. So the earth shakes. The earth is going to shake and quake. What's going to cause this quake? Let's keep reading. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they shall be shot into the ends of the world. So how accurate is a man that he can shoot from one part of the earth even to the other? That's impossible. You've never seen one arrow no archer that's that strong that he can shoot an actual bow and arrow, or an arrow with a bow from one part of earth even to the other. Nor is any man that accurate. Right? This arrow right here, this arrow shall not miss, and shall begin to be shot into the ends of the world. So the way that this country falls is completely due to thermonuclear destruction. That's what will make it uninhabitable for generation and generation. Because you can't even inhabit lands like let's just go into it. You can't even inhabit what is it called? Chernobyl. How long is Chernobyl uninhabited for? Let me see. Okay, 20,000 years, potentially thousands of years. So apparently, they said Chernobyl will be uninhabitable for at least 3,000 years. I mean, now some people say potentially 20,000 years Chernobyl is going to be uninhabited for. So, and if you know anything about it, that was nuclear waste, and that was nowhere near as bad as what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. And actually, if I'd have went back, I'd have showed you that's going to be far worse. Or watch this. Let's read verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 10. And Chaldee shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. So all these other nations that's creating their nuclear weapons and that's flexing their muscle, they're gonna be ready. They're gonna be ready to empty out the whole clip on Babylon the Great. That is the judgment of this place, right? Because of what they did to the saints of the Lord, right? So, like we said, Chernobyl is just like Chernobyl was, or just like Sodom and Gomorrah was. So will Babylon be. Let's keep going. All right, the next one. Did I do this already? Yeah, next one. God, what is this? Like we said, Russia and China are going to team up to push a new world order. In Iowa, to talk about strategies for containing the soaring price of gas, U.S. President Joe Biden termed Russian leader Vladimir Putin a dictator who is committing genocide, which he isn't. Like we already read, he's not committing genocide. He's letting the people go. If they want to stay and fight, then that's on them. This came a mere 2 weeks after Biden distressed many of his own staffers by going off script to invoke God in a call for Putin to be removed from power. So I assume he's trying to invoke God. But let's see how God feels about this. First off, the Lord prophesied all this stuff to happen. So we're not, he's not bringing God in anything. He has no idea what type of time God is on. Let's go to verse 6. It's Amos 3 and 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? So you hear them big purge sirens or them war sirens that a missile is going to be shot. Are the people not going to be terrified? Absolutely, they're going to be absolutely terrified. That's a rhetorical question. Everybody's going to be scared, right? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? So did the Lord not do what's going on in Mariupol and in Kiev, in all these different cities in Ukraine? Is this not something that's done by the Lord, by the hand of the Lord? So how can you invoke God into something that God did? Anytime there's evil happening in the city, the Lord did it. So let's keep going. And I mean, that's pretty much it for this one. I mean, we can go to the next one. Newsweek, alright.com. U.S. rejects Russia's demand to stop sending weapons to Ukraine. And we see that. Slovakia. It's just slowing. It's going slow. All right, let's see. Might just have to read it. All right, Slovakia. All right, the United States has rebuffed a demand by the hold up, is that it? All right, this is it, Slovakia. Let's see what they got to say.
The range of military assistance that we've provided to date was meant to be front-loaded because of our expectation or anticipation, led by our Department of Defense and military leaders, about the nature of the fight and how it has evolved, right? That because they're on a terrain now that where they're in need of long-range military capacity, we've tried to expedite the assistance over the past couple of weeks that they're receiving. So it might not be over the next couple of weeks the same size of assistance week by week, but in terms of what the next package will look like and what will be passed, I mean, those are discussions and recommendations that the president will get from his military leaders. We'll have those discussions with Congress. Obviously, right now, the war is in Ukraine. We're proud of the Ukrainians' success, their efforts to fight back, to push back on the Russian military, thanks to their bravery, but also to our support. But yes, we are also looking to prevent them from expanding their efforts and President Putin's objectives beyond that too.
All right, so I mean, there you have it. They're not going to stop. All right. The United States has rebuffed a demand by the Russian government for the Biden administration to cease providing support to Ukraine. During a press conference Monday afternoon, Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said the administration will continue offering help to the Ukrainian government in its fight against the Russian invasion. The Kremlin recently sent a formal note to the White House in which it warned the U.S. to stop assisting the Ukraine military. In the note, Moscow reportedly referred U.S. assistance to Ukraine as unacceptable. I mean, let's see. At Monday's press briefing, Psaki was asked whether there was a cap in the aid that U.S. gives Ukraine. She said the type of aid would vary. She also mentioned another possible package of assistance and what might be included. And you can read the rest on newsletter.com. Let's keep going. You got these gooks up here. All right, let's go. North Korea shows off apparent new solid fuel missile. And that's what I was telling you. These other nations are flexing their muscle right now. This is the new thing. This is the next big thing on the earth. War through missiles and through fire. And it only need one left. This is it. So let's actually grab a quick precept on it. Isaiah 5. Salakia 6 and 5. Wait, is it Isaiah 9 and 5? Salakia. Isaiah chapter 9 and 5. And it says this. Book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. So with every warrior, with every ancient time of antiquity, early periods of war, it's always been clanging of swords and shields and all different types of warlike equipment, where a man actually had to be in shape and have endurance and have certain type of fighting techniques in order to defend his country, his nation, or even to oppress and invade another nation. You had to know how to fight. You had to be in shape. You couldn't just be a scientist. You had to know exactly what you were doing. You had to know how to defeat, who you were going to fight. A lot of men died. A lot of people had wounds going to war, bad wounds. They might have lost a limb. They might have lost half their body. Might have lost their legs. And you see that in war today. But it's not like it used to be, where you really had to be tough. You had to travel on foot from one part of the earth even to the other to invade a country or a nation. And it'd be a while if for you to make it home. Right? So these are the type of things that would happen in ancient time. Let's keep reading. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So this next word will be with burning and fuel of fire. This is what we see right here. This is the burning fuel of fire. Right in here. Just like we see Sodom and Gomorrah still burning, just like Chernobyl is still burning, America's going to still be burning in these last days. North Korea rolled out what appeared to be a new type of solid fuel missile alongside the country's largest known intercontinental ballistic missile, which is ICBM, at a military parade on Monday. Photos published by DPRK state media on Tuesday showed the new missile seemed to be a variation of North Korea's, whatever that's called, solid fuel missile series, analysts told NK News. So I mean, this is what we have to look forward to: a nuclear war coming to America, and that's what's going to happen. Let's keep going. The U.S. won't rule out military action if China establishes base in Solomon Islands. Now, if anybody doesn't know what the Solomon Islands is, it's right in between the Americas and between Asia. It's right there, and they're in a tough spot. If war breaks out with China and America, they're in a very, very, very tough spot. It might get pretty bad for the Solomon Islands. They might need to, evacuate and send people out. And China has tried to, establish a base in the Solomon Islands to help them if war does break out. All right, let's just read a little bit of it. Nothing too crazy. One of the most senior U.S. officials in the Pacific has refused to rule out military action against Solomon Islands if it were to allow China to establish a military base there, saying that the security deal between the countries presented potential regional security implications for the U.S. and other allies. Ambassador Daniel Crittenbrink, Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and Pacific Affairs, was part of the high-level U.S. delegation to the Pacific country last week. So that's all we're going to read for that one. But we see that, there's another thing brewing up, China and America. That's a big thing happening. It's not just about China and Russia. Let's keep going. China has reported the first human case of H3N8 bird flu. And this is another thing. People are talking about this thing might be more dangerous than COVID. And it could be coming to a city near you. Let's read about it. China has recorded the first human infection of H3N8 strain of bird flu, the country's health authority said on Tuesday, April 26, but said the risk of it spreading among people was low. A 4-year-old boy from a central Henan province was found to have been infected with the variant after developing a fever and other symptoms on April 5th. No close contact were affected by the virus. The National Health Commission, NHC, said in a statement, the child had been in contact with chickens and crows raised at his home, it added. So this thing is coming from chickens and crows. The H3N8 variant has previously been detected elsewhere in the world in horses, dogs, birds, and seals, but no human cases of H3N8 have been reported, said the NHC. The commission said an initial assessment determined the variant not yet have the ability to effectively infect humans, and the risk of a large-scale epidemic was low. So that they say it's roughly low, but we'll see. A lot of things these type of things have variants where it might get worse. Like COVID wasn't always a thing. COVID wasn't always a major disease, but COVID has been around for a minute, even prior before the outbreak. If you looked on your spray bottle, it'll say protects you against COVID-19. So COVID has always been a thing. It's always been a big issue. Well, not an issue. It's always been there. So keep your eye on this H3N8 bird flu. Let's keep going. All right. Fears of recession and inflation. Inflation grip Wall Street. Dow plummets negative 809, beginning of sorrows. Let's read. Stocks fell Tuesday as a steep decline in technology stocks deepened Wall Street's losses after a brutal start to 2022. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed with a loss of 809 points, Tuesday, falling 2.4%. The Nasdaq composite closed with a loss of 4%, and the S&P 500 index fell 2.8% by the closing bell. Following a year of stellar gains, all three indexes. So what does this mean? Let's go down. All right, we'll start back up here. Okay. Following a year of stellar gains, all three indexes have fallen since the start of the year as investors brace for the continued war in Ukraine, high inflation, and Federal Reserve attempts to cool off price growth to cut into corporate profits. Tech stocks that made up much of the market's massive gains last year are among the leading forces behind the steady decline across Wall Street. So this thing is getting bad. You have, stock market falling, which will lead to, just civil unrest in America, and if it's civil unrest, it'll cause global unrest. Just like when Russia stopped aiding in oil and things like that, and it hurt America a little bit. Imagine if America stopped doing that. It'll hurt damn near every country on the earth. Right? Let's keep reading. The risk reward is just not there into big cap tech earnings. Satori fund founder and senior portfolio manager Dan Niles told CNBC's Tech Check on Tuesday, "I expect every single one of them to see forward numbers go down. So this is going to only get worse. It's not going to get any better. You got Netflix dropping, Instagram, Google, Meta, Amazon, Apple, all these different other things are all falling. So you just definitely keep your eye on it." All right. And here's another one. Pfizer asks FDA to authorize third COVID vax dose for children 5 to 11 years old. And what does Pfizer want them to do to children 5 to 11 years old so bad? Why do they want to do this? And that's all I want to read for it, but it's something you should definitely keep in mind, that they're saying that kids need to get another dose of this thing. And obviously Pfizer, which is money hungry, they might have saw that people haven't been getting as many vaccinations. They haven't been doing this thing as much. That they might want to make more money, so that, now they're asking the FDA if they can do another one. And who knows what the FDA will say. Maybe yes, maybe no. Let's see. You got UFO sightings. Let's keep going. China angered as U.S. sends destroyer through Taiwan Strait. USS Samson conducted a monthly patrol of the strait, which the U.S. regards as international waters. China's military has accused the United States of undermining regional peace and security after it sent naval destroyer through the Strait of Taiwan on Tuesday as part of a routine freedom of navigation exercise. The People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command accused the U.S. of provocative naval activities and said the move sent the wrong signals to Taiwan independence forces in a brief statement. So China, and this is the reason why World War III is going to start off, because China has completely, because America has completely bullied every other nation. They've walked in, done whatever they want, had their boats whatever they wanted, and no other nation could do anything about it. And that's been a big issue in the eyes of China and Russia. And that's why they want to come together to destroy the rulership of Babylon the Great. So let's just keep going. Newsweek: China suggests attack on Taiwan can be called an invasion. Well, that would be roughly, that would be pretty obvious, because Taiwan is a part of China. It's an island right off of China. So it's rough. It's definitely considered. Let me see. What their point is that they wouldn't believe it. It's an invasion. Let's keep going. Salakia. Nobody wants war. Going to war requires some forethought. As we say, a prepared army wins first. It requires some thinking. Of course it does. It really requires a lot of consideration. Will it be disastrous? A war would frankly be disastrous for everyone. So, I mean, like he says, war is, you think about wars, it takes a lot to start a war. It takes a lot to go and invade somebody. It takes a whole lot. Not everybody wants to be a part of a war. Not everybody wants to do it. And even in ancient time, we've done wars. Let me see. Let's go to 1 Kings. Slack it, 2 Kings 22. Let's see. And this is something that we all hear of. You know what I'm saying? War has just, everybody, people look at war as, they just thought of invading them. No, that's not something that always happens. It's not something that you just openly up out and do. Let me see. Salakia. It is 1 Kings, Salakia. Let me see. All right, here we go. I think we can go down a little earlier. Let me say, and to continue, thought war is okay. All right, here we go. Start at verse 1. This is 1 Kings 22:1. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. And it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. Jehoshaphat, Salakia. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, Know ye that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Syria? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Wilt thou go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? Meaning, are you going to go with me to battle? So they're thinking about the war. They're considering how they may go about this war. Hey, you think about you gonna come with me? Do you want to, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this war? Right? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. Of course. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord. So you took a lot of time. You took a lot of time to consider how you were going about doing this. And what we did was we inquired of the Lord. We went up to the Lord and we said, to the Lord that we said to the Lord that we asked the Lord, should we go to the war? Is it safe? How should we go about this thing? And that's exactly what our forefathers did. So it takes a lot of thought in this. And what we do, we take a thought. Clearly, we think about it, but we pray about it, and we inquire the Lord for it. So let's keep going. Will it be disastrous? A war would frankly be disastrous for everyone. From our resistance and other past experience of war. In the end, it's usually a painful victory, even for the winning side. All right, so it'll be dangerous with war with Taiwan, but I have reason to believe that they're still gonna go through with it, but we'll see. Let's keep going. Putin's stooges, he may nuke us all, but we are ready to die. All right. The Daily Beast. Okay, here we go. This is Russian President Vladimir Putin ominously warned on Wednesday that if any other country intervenes in Ukraine, Russia will respond with instruments nobody else can boast of, and we will use them if we have to. So I mean, Russia has they have weapons that no one else can boast of having. In recent days, Russian state media has been hyping up the same rhetoric, bombarding audiences with jarring declarations that World War III is imminent. And if you looked on it, on some Russian websites, you'll see that all they talk about is how this thing has to go down. Every major channel is promoting the idea of an inevitable, never seen escalation over Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is being portrayed as a war waged against the Kremlin by the collective West. Patriotic citizens are now being primed for the idea that even the worst outcome is a good thing, because those dying for motherhood will skyrocket to paradise. Right? So, you could read this article. It's a pretty good article. To hear about what else is going to happen. Let's see what's next. All right, good job, Salakia. Iran seeks to expand its military cooperation with China. All right, and this is another big deal because you got all these nations coming together and joining hand in hand. All these other nations are joining hand in hand against Babylon the Great, except for Babylon the Great. They have the NATO EU, but now we got China and Iran. Iran joining. All right. Iran state media say President Ibrahim Raisi expressed his government's desire for closer cooperation with China during a visit to Tehran by the Chinese defense minister. All right. So that's pretty much all we really got to know. Just know that these other nations are coming together and they're assembling together to fight against the Great Horde. Let's keep going. U.S. House passes bill allowing seizure of Putin associates' assets, giving funds to Ukraine. So let's read. The U.S. House Representative on Wednesday passed a bill authorizing that Biden administration to seize assets belonging to foreign persons linked to Russian President Vladimir Putin and give the proceeds to Ukraine. The House passed the legislation entitled the Asset Seizure for Ukraine Reconstruction Act in a vote of 417-8. The legislation allows the United States to seize assets belonging to foreign persons whose wealth is proportionately derived in part through political support for corruption linked to President Putin. Additionally, the seized assets may be put toward post-conflict reconstruction in Ukraine, humanitarian assistance for Ukrainians and Russians, and weapons for Ukrainians' sake. So, again, these other nations are definitely, America's trying to find ways to take away Russia's strength, right? But in other ways, they still want to build up NATO and the EU. Let's keep going. Khamenei urges Iranians to prepare for new world order, and this has been the talk of the century. Like, this has been the talk, the new world order, what that is, and now we're in an age where new world order is no longer a conspiracy theory, but a reality. Let's read. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei told university students that there is a new multipolar world order emerging. During a speech to Iranian university students Wednesday, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei spoke about a number of global developments. Khamenei said, "Today, the world is on the threshold of a new world order." He said that the era of a bipolar or monopolar world is coming to an end and it is under new order. This new order, the U.S. is becoming weaker day by day. Damn. Man, let's say that again. The U.S. is becoming weaker day by day, man. Kwame Ashala, man. And it's getting, and that's what these other nations are saying. And we can go back to Isaiah. We can go back to Isaiah and talk about it. Because that's exactly what's happening. Isaiah 14. That's exactly what's happening. Here we go. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken nations? So, wait, how you come down? How you come down from heaven? How have you fallen? That's exactly what everybody's asking. Everybody's really wondering, like, damn, I mean, wasn't you the dude that said you was better than everybody? What happened? Like, why is this? You know what I'm saying? And there's another, we can keep reading, but let me, all right, let's keep going. Where was I at? All right, verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. He said I was ascending to heaven, meaning I'm going to go to the moon. I'm gonna go up into the stars. We're gonna set up all different types of we're gonna set up all different types of what do you call those things? Salakia. Craters or satellites in the stars and the moon, and we're gonna exalt ourselves above the stars of God. Now, if you read Revelations, book of Revelation chapter 12, the stars of God is Israel. He's exalted his throne above us. That's how he got this kingdom all strong and built up. He's exalted it on top of the children of Israel. I will sit also in the congregation, in the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And that's the perfect issue with America. They have a God complex. They're insatiable. They think that they have to have everything. That's why they can go to a nation as strong as China and as strong as Russia and try to bully them around. Right? It says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. If you ever looked at Google Earth or a satellite or through a satellite image, I mean, seriously, just look at it. Look at the works that this devil has done. Of course they would think that they're like the Most High. Right? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, which is the grave, to the sides of the pit. Right? And this is what all these other nations is going to say. Nations like Iran. Iran has never, once in their life, ever been considered a mighty nation. Ever. Under the name of the Iranians, obviously. Let's keep going. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon him. I mean, they're gonna look at you. They're gonna think something when they look at you, and consider thee. Damn, they look at you. They're gonna consider something. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? So are you the one that's been shaking the whole earth? Are you the one that's had everybody in fear, that oppressed the children of Israel, that bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that defeated three of the greatest kingdoms on the face of the earth at that time, in England and Spain and in France? Are you the kingdom that did that? Are you the kingdom that helped take down the Soviet Union, stopped Hitler from killing all the fake Jews, and then, continue to grow as a nation? Aren't you the first nation to make it to the moon? Oh, they're gonna think about America and be like, damn, aren't you the one that made the earth to tremble? Didn't you make the kingdoms of the earth shake? Didn't you give fear in everybody, put fear in everybody's heart? That made the world as a wilderness. I'm reading now. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. Didn't you have the Israelites in slavery and called it prison? Didn't you come and take over the whole Americas, all the Americas, the whole continent of North and South America? They're gonna ask this question about them. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. So I mean, like we said, every nation's gonna look at America and be like, dang, and you did like that one girl that was pretty in high school that just fell off. You know what I'm saying? It just fell off, and then everybody's gonna look like, dang, she used to be something. And this is really what this scripture I wanted to get to. It says Isaiah 14:10. All they that speak and say unto thee, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become as weak as us, as we? Art thou become like unto us? Dang. So that's what that New World Order thing is. This whole New World Order is America falling out of power and becoming weaker day by day. Sheesh. Kamani said that the war in Ukraine must be viewed from this perspective. Though he didn't offer details, He did warn that the Islamic Republic of Iran should be prepared for this world order with soft and hard power to guarantee the interests of the country. Khamenei encouraged the university students to play an active role in these endeavors. And I don't know if you just saw the last thing I just had up. Before this, Iran has already picked a side. They want to get closer with China, if I'm not mistaken. So like it's ABC. Yeah, Iran seeks to expand military cooperation with China, so they've already picked a side. They're not. You know, they of course they believe in New World Order, but they know whose side they're going to be on. Ask yourself why. Well, why would they want to join America? What's the reason why they're not joining America? Because they believe America is being weaker, is getting weaker day by day. Let's keep reading. According to Khamenei, many university students in the West, meaning the U.S. and in Europe, are opposed to the colonial policies of their countries. He encouraged Iranian university students to develop healthy relationships among these anti-imperial activists and introduce the Islamic Republic to them. Khamenei did add that Iran should put a stronger focus on neighboring countries such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq. They're trying to bring all these nations. They're trying to bring these nations closer to come up against Babylon the Great. And I think I can grab a precept on it. I think I have a precept on it. Let's go to Jeremiah 51. Salakia. 10. The war. Salakia. I know I got it. I just gotta grab it up. Salakia, just bear with me real quick. I could really read all this right now, though. That's the thing. Matter of fact, is it in this? Is it? All right, I think I'm just gonna start up here. Let me see. I might even. All right, here we go. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nation. Nah, we're gonna go down. We're gonna go down the verse. So like verse 20. Nah, let's keep going. All right, 24. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. So if Babylon is anywhere else, what people group have they been doing dirty in God in the Lord's sight? What evil have they been doing in everybody's sight? It had to be Babylon, because Babylon is the only place that has both kingdoms as a whole. Verse 25, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroys all the earth. I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. I mean, this place is going to be burnt. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes and the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, in all the land of dominion. So it says the kings of the Medes. The Medes has multiple kings. Look at the nations that they just said that they wanted, that Iran said they want to create strong relationship with. You see where I can. Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq. Salaki, we want to look this up real quick. I mean, the answer's right there. And it's kind of like in that, it's in the area of Iran. So these nations are gonna come up against Babylon the Great. Let me see. I want to grab something that has a modern and a you can't even see it too well. Let me see. I mean, we got this is all the land of media for the record, and we're going to show you what nations are in the land of media. All right, so it's not really. Okay, here we go. No, okay. Salakia. So you got certain places like Kurdistan, what country? Okay, Iran is what you would. So Iran going against them is what you would look at. But they said the kings of the Medes, which means other nations that are close to Iran. So we just look at Iran on the map. Look at where Iran is at. It's in the exact same place where Med is at. But their neighboring countries are all around it. Like I said, Pakistan is right here. And what was the other one? Was the other country that they said was along with it? Salakia. Pakistan and Iraq. And they're all close. They're all close together. So these are the kings of the Medes that are going to play a part in helping take down this country, take down Babylon the Great. But not only that, you have Salakia. Let me get back to that. You had nations even before that, where I said the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. If now, I mean, I'm gonna end this pretty soon. But if you look at Ararat and all these countries, that's what you would call Europe. Ashkenaz is the land of what you would call Eastern Europe, around Germany, really around, not really Eastern, but, around Germany, you know what I'm saying? Places like Poland as well, and Russia as well. All these different nations are going to come up against them and appoint themselves against Babylon the Great. So, like the scripture says, the dragon is going to turn against the whore and eat and burn her with fire. So, I mean, that's really what's coming to Babylon the Great. Let's keep going. All right. Truss warns China to play by the rules or face consequences. And this is really our last one. Liz Truss, UK Foreign Secretary, has warned China to learn lessons from the West's robust economic response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, saying Beijing will face consequences if it does not play by the rules. Truss, in a hawkish set piece speech, argued that the Ukraine crisis had delivered a salutary lesson to the West and showed that democracies must use economic levers to rein in authoritarian regimes. So, I mean, that's pretty much, the Shedemite talking and thinking she knows what she's talking about, but doesn't know that Babylon the Great is coming to a fall. And these are the nations going to wind up trading on Babylon the Great. But that's pretty much it. Lord willing, it was edifying. But before I end, I would like to call Halal Yahweh, which means to give all praise unto Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, Ba'ashem, which means in the name of the Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. With that being said, I'd like to bid you a strong shalom. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation, for the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Kwame Shalom.